Dating in Miami, is it as bad as people make out on social media?
I think it's worse than what people make out on social media. I was recently on CBS and we went around Wynwood, which is just a really hot area in Miami. And you get a lot of young daters. And I was interviewing person after person, and everybody was talking about how dating is almost hopeless in Miami. Now, I'm a hopeless romantic, so I don't believe it's hopeless, but people are struggling and people are tired. And that's why you're seeing people having less sex. When we look at the data, people are actually having less sex. And that's because people are tired of the one-night stands. They're tired of the heartbreak. They're tired of the ghosting that they're saying, I'm actually going to wait for not the person to marry, but the right fit for that time. So you're seeing less situationships. You're seeing less like complicated statuses, and they're more going to like, I'm going to wait.
When it comes to, let's do men and women separately, and maybe there's some crossover. When you ask the women, what do they not like about the dating scene in Miami?
Oh, so many things. They really complain about how, this sounds so bad, but they feel a lot of the men their age are not emotionally mature.
Okay.
They're just not scheduling the dates. They're not setting up properly like we have back in kind of the 50s, right? Where you would actually make the reservation, come to the door to pick somebody up. That romance has really gone out the door. And in my professional opinion, we need to bring it back, because you take dating more seriously. I think dating has become so casual that when you cancel last minute plans, it's just normalized. And these are what a lot of women are complaining about, that these men don't know how to flirt. They don't know how to court a woman. They don't know how to set up that date where a girl feels really special to be the person they asked out.
Do you think that that partly comes because people are dating so many other people, and to get a first date can be such a casual thing? Like, I swiped my finger, I have a date now. I also have 3 dates this week. Well, I'm not going to drive to their houses and pick them all up and go out for dinner 3 times. Do you think it becomes a problem where people have so many options that they don't take each option as seriously as it deserves?
Yeah, we kind of have become immune to it. People have become immune to that. The person that you're texting on the other side has a heart, has feelings. And that's how ghosting became so popular, because the swiping created this immunity for us that we dehumanized the person. Also, women are complaining that they're not getting a first date. Men are keeping it on the apps or keeping it to texting. And I think one of the reasons, when we look, again, I love stats. I think they're fun, especially when it comes to dating. But here in Miami, dating is expensive. So it's an investment, So women are frustrated of, okay, how long are we going to sit here and talk via texting? They'll talk about, oh, it was 2 weeks, 3 weeks before I even met the person. No. 4 days. If you are solidly, consistently texting somebody, 4 days, you ask them out.
When you ask
a sexologist.
Well, you know what? I mean, you can interpret certain things as a little bit prescriptive, but I think it's also really good to have these guidelines. Like, on the other hand, it's not good to ask somebody out on the first message when you first match, immediately. Hey, you want to get a drink sometime? They think, no, I don't know you. Right. When you speak to the men, let's, talking Miami specifically, and I think Miami is probably the most grossly exaggerated version of all the other big cities in the US that have similar problems. In LA, New York, Chicago, which is where I've primarily been located. You get these similar issues, but for the men, what are their big complaints?
I love my men clients, and I've been a sexologist for 10 years, and my practice is primarily males. And you know what? these men are not dating. These men are not having sex. And when we break it down, they struggle from performance anxiety, social anxiety, because there's a lot of pressure that these men are feeling. They're feeling, I have to have the right outfit, the right car, the right job. I need to take them to an expensive dinner and pay this expensive bill on the first date. And then I'm probably expected to maybe have sex that night. There really still is that expectation. Or when they do have sex, it's supposed to be this mind-blowing experience, which is just not realistic. And what these pressures are doing is it causes ED. We're not diagnosing them as erectile dysfunction, but they're not able to achieve an erection due to the anxiety that they're having in the moment. This happens all the time. Professional finance, gorgeous men are coming and saying, I avoid sex at all cost.
Wow. And do you think this is anxiety around sex specifically, or just the whole dating episode?
Both. There really is this sexual performance anxiety that a lot of my males feel. And they feel confident in who they are. They feel confident in their job. We have a lot of, transplants here who have done well enough in their job that they were moved here. But when it comes to sex, they're like, what if I don't match up? What is she going to tell her friends? What happens if I'm not able to get an erection? And they think back to the one time that they weren't able to get an erection for whatever reason. And the trauma from that gets in their way. So they really do avoid. And then you also hear on the other side the woman saying, well, maybe he doesn't like me. He's not making any advances. And so we do see these cycles coming.
When you use the words match up, to me that suggests a comparison in the man's mind, like either comparison to something that he's seen or something he's heard about. Where do you think that this expectation and pressure comes from, like both in the date itself and then in the bedroom?
Well, the date itself is going to be societal pressures, right? Being in Miami, you feel those societal pressures when you're in the city. It's all around you. This really is a city of visual flash. You can't believe everything you're seeing, but it really is that piece. And I do think daters expect a great first date. I was also on CBS for another segment, and we narrowed it down and we did a whole talk about how dating in Miami is an investment, and how when you add it up, the first date, if you want to arrive with the clothes and the car and the bills, you're talking around $1,000. That's a lot of money to put down for somebody on a first date. And then, when it does come to sex, I think there was this like stereotype of the locker room talk. But being a therapist and hearing the other side of men, you guys don't actually talk that much. It seems like men are actually very isolated when it comes to challenges around sex. It appears that there's like a lot of one-liners of like, oh, I'm so great in bed, or she said I was so great in bed, but that's it. So I do think there is that pressure to match up, but then there's also that isolated factor of guys don't talk like women talk. Women talk about struggles. Women talk about low libidos. They talk about pain. They talk about not being able to orgasm. Men don't. They just give off a persona that I'm really great at it.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think that's because as men, we have this kind of, in the same way that you don't want to hear about your mom or dad talk about their sex life, you kind of have that with your male friends. You're like, happy for you, but like I don't want to have the visuals, in my mind of the details and the problems. And it doesn't seem like that's gonna change anytime soon in male society.
No, I don't think so. And there are those pressures from the one-liners that come across. And then we cannot negate porn, right? There really is a belief that if the porn star is acting like that, so should I. And, I love to share with my clients, porn is cinema. It's a movie. It's not real. It's not education. We don't try to level up. But for sure, there is a comparison level.
For a man that feels like he has been affected by that, what does the renewal process, what does the healing process look like there?
The healing process is in twofold, right? So as a sexologist, I have these wonderful exercises that I guide my clients through on their own. They're solo practices that they do at home with themselves. But then it's also normalizing with education, right? It's very normal for whatever reason to just not be able to obtain an erection. It just happens. We don't diagnose it unless it's consistent, but every once in a while, it's just going to happen, and it's okay. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. But what I see happen is when somebody's not able to get an erection when they want it, they fear the next time I won't be able to get an erection. And that cycle builds and that fear builds. And that's over time you see them just avoid. Also, if they're not able to get an erection with a partner who's a little shaming, it just enhances how much fear they have and how much pressure they would put on themselves for the next time.
It's interesting that people are coming to a sexologist primarily and they're not actually having sex very much at the moment. No. It sounds like.
No.
Yeah.
And especially when the pandemic hit, I was laughing because the news kept saying, oh, we're going to be in this baby boom. I was like, no. All of a sudden I have an influx of like 25-year-old clients who are coming to me saying we're not having sex because we're so annoyed with each other in the house.
Wow. So. I would imagine that, we're talking about the expectation of the date, and you mentioned that $1,000 date. Obviously, every woman is very different in terms of what they like. Some women just want to go for a coffee and a walk. Some women want the red carpet rolled out. But more generally, as a kind of rule of thumb, what do you think women are really expecting for a reasonable level of effort on a first date? Let's say like ordinary 25-year-old girl, looking to be with a guy her own age, not looking to be taken care of financially, just wants a regular boyfriend.
Recipe for success is just make each other feel desired and that this is an important date on your calendar. It doesn't have to have a big dollar figure, but go back to how we used to date, how the courting process looked. Women want confirm ahead of time a date and a location. It's not, I'll let you know. It's not, hey, tomorrow, hey, right now. No. Give an ample, heads up, put a date and a time on the calendar. Pick them up, meet them there. Don't be afraid to go back to those old-fashioned ways of dating. Because it really is what people want. It makes them feel desired. It makes them feel respected. And all of those things allow you to feel emotionally safe. If we feel emotionally safe, we start to put our walls down. We're going to have better conversation. We're going to laugh more. We're going to be more vulnerable. We're going to actually get to see the true person.
If a guy lives in New York or London and he doesn't have a car, what is the best alternative to the I'll pick you up at 8?
You don't have to have a car to pick somebody up.
Okay, well, how would you go about it?
Where do they live? You can go pick them up at their apartment. You can meet them there someplace close. You can plan a date that is easy for them to get on and off a train.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I once did a Uber double drop as the picking up alternative.
And
yeah, actually, I've done that many times.
And how did your date feel about it?
It was good. Yeah, I would recommend.
And you know why they liked it? Because you thought about it. You thought about their safety. You thought about their convenience. You planned ahead. You thought about it. That's all it is.
That's one thing that I am definitely really starting to understand. It's like investment comes in many different forms. And I think one form of investment that's become really valuable today is consideration and thinking of somebody and actually making time for them. I think one of the worst mistakes that men do in dating is when you just try and fit it in. I'm going to go to the gym at 5 and then I can have maybe a coffee for an hour and then I got to meet up and play pickleball at 7. That doesn't, not only does it not afford her the opportunity to feel special and be romantic, but it also doesn't allow you to switch gears.
Exactly. And it feels like they're an afterthought. I just had a client come to me and she said, "Oh, he has an hour and a half time blocked out for us because he's going out after." I said, "How does that make you feel?" Well, like, it's really inconvenient. Right. So right off the bat, I'm not going to go in with emotional safety. You're going to have your walls up. So at that point, what's the point?
Yeah. So we've spoken a little bit about dating more generally with kind of, I'm assuming like some of these are more same age. Let's talk about the age gap the other way around, where the man is significantly older. How much do you think you see this kind of relationship disproportionately in Miami?
Oh, this kind of relationship. Well, you're talking to a sexologist who is very open about my age gap. My husband is 18 years older. And you see it everywhere. You see it everywhere you go. I have to say, I have not felt any stigma or any shame societally from Miami because I do think it's normalized here.
What do you think that, I mean, this has been going on like pretty much since the beginning of history where men have had partners that are younger. But I do feel like social media is maybe starting to either exaggerate this or perhaps show this more often than it's actually happening. What's your take on that?
I think it's becoming more accepted. Instagram's always going to exaggerate it. But I do think it is growing in acceptance. It has always existed. My dissertation was all about sexual satisfaction in couples with age gaps. And when you look at it historically, women have always desired a man who's 5 to 7 years older, and men have always desired a woman who's younger than him.
That's interesting. To me, I feel like 5 to 7 years isn't really that much of an age gap. I feel like that's just kind of normal. Like when you start talking 15, 20 years, it's also relative to how old the people are. Like if somebody who's 30 and 20, that's only 10 years, but that's pretty significant, right? Like she's still in college probably, and then you're 30 years old. But if you're 50 and 60, it's like, well, is that really that much of a different stage of life?
And it's huge too, because it goes back to that emotional maturity piece and the phase of life. So if both people are, let's say, like more in the retirement, they're most likely going to be successful and happy in that relationship. Once you start decreasing in age, you're going to see more challenges, and you're going to have couples that need to overcome differences in emotional maturity. You're going to have stigma. A lot of families are not accepting of these larger age gaps.
Yeah, that's true. Luckily, my parents have a huge one, so I'd be okay.
So you have options.
Yeah, I do have options. Yeah. Actually, I was with my mom over Christmas, and somebody in a bar asked my mom if she was my girlfriend. So...
Was she flattered?
She made her Christmas. I didn't even have to get her a gift after that. No, I'm kidding. There are a lot of guys that listen to this that are not young men. They're in their 40s and 50s. What kind of problems do you find that sometimes the guys run into when they date or are in relationships with women that are significantly younger than them?
Well, you do have a piece here where it is more societally acceptable in this regard to have older man, younger woman, but you're going to see different phases of life, different energy levels, different desires for children. People close to them may not be accepting of this. Yeah.
A quick thank you to today's sponsor, Ota. Ota is one of those brands that I've been a paying customer of long before they were interested in sponsoring the show, which is why I'm so happy to bring them to you today. If you're into menswear at all, shirts, ties, cufflinks, the things that really elevate an outfit, Ota has an incredible selection of both classic designs and more modern, expressive pieces. The company was founded by two brothers down under, and I can tell you, these guys truly care about their customers and creating the best products around. They also do fast worldwide shipping. OTA is offering a discount for listeners of the Gentleman's Collective podcast. Use the code JamesLawley10 at ota.com for a 10% discount. If you are upgrading your wardrobe this year, start with one of their shirts, neckties, or cufflinks. They make a bigger difference than most people realize. So that's JamesLawley10 at ota.com for 10% off. I think it's, the problem that a lot of age gap couples run into when it's the other way around. If the woman is a lot older, it's like the guy doesn't want kids when he's 25 and she's 45, but then 5 years down the line, it's like a huge deal breaker, right? And there's like almost nothing that they can do to move past that. Whereas when the roles are reversed, I think a lot of men want children and they want to settle down a little bit later than a lot of women do, or they feel like they aren't financially prepared, like they need a few years to get ahead and to be ready for that. So it does logistically like actually make a lot of sense, I think, for a lot of men and for a lot of women to maintain that kind of gap.
Absolutely. The research will show you that as well. In general, people are stretching out their lives more. So you're seeing women having children much later in life now because they want to focus on their career and get the education. So everybody is shifting later. But even for a male, if you look at it, and when we look at research, this is not my professional opinion, what makes a man valuable? They get more valuable with age. And why is that? Because of the perceived ability to provide. So when we look at societally, they have found men become more valuable with age because there is that financial piece, and women decrease in how society values them because of their inability to have children after a certain age.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, because something that I've observed, and I don't know whether to be worried about this or not, but tell me if you've seen this, where because men are aware that their value on the dating market is going to increase and they're going to be able to provide, I see men in their 20s like almost resigning themselves temporarily from dating, from trying to be in a relationship, because, well, I'll have better options in the future. Do you think that there's any validity to that form of thinking, or is that a dangerous path to go down?
They're not shy about it. I have many of my clients, right? So I hear everybody's true thoughts, and I want to hear them. I'm not judging them, but I do hear, I am waiting for the one, because I know my value goes up. I know that I'm progressing in my career. So my options to what I would perceive as more valuable women, it'll be opened later in life.
And when your clients say that to you, are you like, great idea? Or do you go, ooh, wait a minute, there's going to be some danger to this approach?
I make them define value. What would you value? How are you defining value? How are you saying, when I earn more money, I will attract more valuable women? And I make them break it down.
Because I would imagine
it's not for me to decide who they want to be with, but it is for me to help them outline what they truly desire.
I'd imagine that beauty is probably the first word that comes up, or looks.
Yeah, for a lot.
What else though?
Attraction.
Yeah. What else? Because I feel like, people have different types and different preferences, but I think that men are a little bit more unanimous in their ideas and perceptions of beauty than women are. Like two best girlfriends one of them thinks the guy is super hot. The other one's like, ew, no, I would never. Guys tend to kind of agree, right? Like Sydney Sweeney might not be your type, but she's so beautiful that you're like, yeah, of course. So I think that men seem to put a value, like almost a numerical value, on beauty a lot more easily than women do. But aside from that, what else do they think defines value in that sense?
I still go back to very traditional values. A lot of men are looking. I hear it with my young clients even. What type of mother would they be? What type of partner will they be to me if I'm working on my career? People are still looking for some of those traditional values.
do you think that they are actually more likely to find those qualities in a woman when they are older, more established, more able to provide?
I don't necessarily think that they're able to find them. No. And that's why I would probably stop and ask my client, right? Define value. Define value where you are now and define value where you perceive you will be.
I think it's a way of thinking that seems like really logical on paper, and it seems really sensible up front, especially as young men today are obsessed with delaying their gratification and not allowing themselves to enjoy things, and everything has to be for the future. It makes a lot of sense on paper, but as you say, when you actually pick it apart and you define value and you question whether basically making more money or having more social status is going to give you access to that, the answer is often not really, right?
It is. It is. And, they have found that we believe money will make us happier, but it doesn't actually make us happier. What it gives us is maybe more opportunities, but the happiness is not. So that would be something that I would challenge any of my clients on to stop and rethink about.
Yeah. So aside from the dating apps, I mean, first off, with the men that you speak to, what percentage of their dates or dating efforts would you say are actually concentrated digitally rather than in the real world?
I'm a huge dating app proponent. I'm a sexologist for the Highly dating app. We have 39 million daters. So I truly believe in dating apps. There's challenges though, because I think people have become so immune to the person on the other side. And my clients in Miami, like I said, this is a very visual city that you can't believe everything you see. So my clients would go out, they would spend thousands and thousands of dollars on the outfits and the travel just to get that profile picture of the first one to get the swipe. And that's also a huge mistake. So I do think, I believe in them if you use them correctly. But we are moving in a way where people are now exhausted, burnt out, and immune to them, where they're saying, I'm going to allow my friends to match me up again, and I'm going to allow myself just to go out and just hopefully meet somebody or let it happen. We're seeing more of a trend in that respect.
This is one of my big predictions for 2026, and it's stupid to make predictions for the year on a recorded podcast that people can listen back to if you're wrong. But I do feel like 2026 is the year people go offline more than they have done over the last 10 years.
Yeah,
AI has become so saturated. Dating app exhaustion is so real. People don't believe what they see on social media anymore. And everybody's so lonely. Like, so many people are just crying out to talk to the person next to them in the coffee shop, or, as you say, be set up by their friend to go on a blind date and do something simple. Like, we are so starved of that right now.
But what dating apps did too was they allowed us to mature. So you will see people are not aware of how to date anymore. It's almost like in 2026 and Gen Z needs to learn how to date, how to flirt, how to court. Because dating apps really threw all that away. Dating apps, people would match and then they would ghost, or they would say, let's meet up now. So it was like a 0 to 100 kind of thing.
Yeah. I also am really interested in exploring ways that people can like meet people organically without necessarily walking around the shopping mall all day trying to get girls' numbers. You know, what are some things that you've seen work very well for your clients socially that, you know, maybe they work from home and, you know, there's not really an opportunity for them to meet people? What can they go do to be around more potential dating people?
So I don't believe that it's a verb. It's not a do. It's a mindset, right? We are out all the time. Right. It's a mindset of I'm going to allow myself to be vulnerable and push myself to be open to having more conversations and being open to meeting people. So there's not a necessary action that they can do. I think you're seeing more singles events, which I would encourage you to do. I think they can be a lot of fun. I would say join all the organizations, all the hobbies. Those are great ways to meet people. But it's a mindset. When you leave the house, I have this mindset of I am open to finding somebody I want to go on a date with. And so I'm going to push myself out of my natural, maybe closed in place where I'm running in the store, running out, and go to this place of I'm going to have this mindset of being open and trying to push myself to meet new people.
I also think there are visual cues that you can do to be an open person. If you've got your headphones in all the time, you're almost carrying a sign of like, don't talk to me, basically. I think your body language can also say a lot. Also your face, like do you seem approachable or do you seem like stone-walled and closed off? Would you want to start a conversation with you?
Exactly. So this is like the mindset and the body language, the headphones, all of those things. They send a message to somebody. So that's why I would say if you're going to go to the coffee shop or do something, you need to push yourself with the right body language in the right location, and you have to push yourself to maybe start new conversations. It is the law of probability, though. You have to do it many times before maybe you find somebody that, you would be attracted to.
Do you find that
dating fatigue comes in?
Yeah, I've been in Europe for the last 3 months, and one thing that I don't like about it here is people are not extroverted. Like, people don't talk to strangers. Guys don't approach women. I mean, women want to be approached, but I have a lot of female friends, and I say to them, like, so do guys come up to you and, like, ask you for your number? And they're like, no, never. That doesn't happen here.
You don't even make eye contact on the subway.
Well, I know, exactly. I actually forgot about that, and I started talking to somebody on the tube in London, and we went to school together. I didn't recognize her. How crazy is that?
You had to put yourself out there.
That was insane. I put myself out there anyway. But I do think that the US is much better at that, and people are more extroverted and open. Do you find that Miami is like a generally friendly, sociable place for a single person?
Miami is full of transplants, so people move here. Oftentimes, a lot of people move here from New York, LA, Chicago, and they're moving there for work. So you see a lot of adults who move here being like, I don't know anybody. So you do see more people with going out to dinner alone, kind of meeting people. A lot of people here will join like beach clubs. And I do think that's a great way to meet people, right? Because you have a lot of single people who are trying to make friends as an adult.
I am actually moving to Austin in February, and I'll be a transplant. Like, I know some people from the podcast actually, but I don't know anybody really in person. What would you recommend to a young man in my shoes of like trying to establish yourself, not only romantically, but like, I think when you're open to dating, you're also open to friendship?
Show up. I say show up. Right? There isn't like a perfect recipe. You're not going to maybe love every event, but show up with being mentally open as many times as you can.
I also think it's okay if you're establishing yourself in a new community or a new space. You don't always have to shoot your shot the very first time you see the woman. I think it's okay to allow that familiarity. Like, maybe you actually talk to each other a few times. Maybe you see each other a few times, and then you finally decide, you know what, I'm gonna ask her out this time. Like, I think that actually increases the chances of her feeling connected and feeling like she wants to go on the date with you, and it's gonna make you way less nervous of like, we're gonna talk, but I don't have to get a result at the end of it.
Well, and during that time when you're around that person, you're also gaining an understanding of, am I attracted to them? Do I want to go on a date with them? But I do think moving to a new city, especially being in Miami and seeing how many adult like hobbies, clubs, gyms there are, people join activities. This is a very healthy community, so it's very common to join paddle or some form of like workout. And that's what I tell people. It is about showing up and making it a habit, because the first time you get there, you're not going to necessarily make a deep connection. You have to be ritualistic with it.
I totally agree. One of the best things that I did when I came to Marbella, which is where I am now, was join a co-working space. If you work from home or you work from yourself, join a co-working space. You're going to meet like-minded guys. You're going to meet loads of women. And it doesn't have that kind of pressure of like, this has to be romantic. You know, you can be friends. Maybe you'll be romantically interested in each other, or they'll introduce you to their friends. They'll bring you to parties. Paddle is also a huge thing over here. And I know it is in Miami. I know it is in Austin. It's pretty much taken over the world recently, but it's such a great social activity that is probably like pretty 50-50 men and women as well.
And it's a lot of people who are open to meeting new friends. I think that's also the culture around paddle, but there's also a very similar culture around a lot of hobbies. So you just have to be ritualistic with it.
Yeah, I think the run club has almost become the dating event masquerading as a jog lately.
Oh, absolutely. I have so many clients and friends who joined the run club, and now there's like the rollerblading club. You just go, and people are all in a same cultural mindset of we're here to be open. And it has that culture around it of just being happy and friendly and welcoming.
People describe Miami as quite a sexy place. What do you reckon?
Super sexy.
Yeah. What is it about it that makes it so sexy?
Like I said, it's a very visual place. And I don't know, on a Monday, everyone seems to be half dressed here. You know, you could be walking through the city and the woman next to you is literally in a bikini. I'm not joking about that, because everyone's doing something all the time. You're going to work. They're going to the pool party at the next building. But it just has a very sexy culture around it. It's also a newer city. So the people are sexy, the buildings are sexy, the cars are sexy. It's on a beach. So it has a really interesting mix between professional go-getter people mixed with those who want to have a lot of fun. And Miami can get a bad rap because a lot of people say, oh, you come here and it's like just a big party with nightclubs. It's actually one of the healthiest cities. Mental health is huge here. Physical health is huge.
Do you think that it's also partly to do with the humidity? I think there's something when you arrive in a humid place and you have that kind of warm air at night that just makes you feel makes you feel good, you know?
It definitely helps. And also people are taking half of their clothes off because it's so hot. Maybe that's a piece too.
I love that. What makes it so sexy? Well, there's a lot of hot people wearing no clothes. So yeah, that'll do it. If you're enjoying this podcast, you might like to know that we also have a private members club for like-minded modern gentlemen all over the world. You'll find the link to apply in the description. For a guy that's like pretty down to earth, you know, not super shredded, doesn't have a Ferrari, you know, has a regular kind of white collar job, but he's done a lot of emotional work. He is consistent. He does understand how to date intentionally and make somebody feel special. What kind of like prospects and chances would you say he has in such a hypergamous, competitive type of city?
A lot of prospects.
Mm-hmm. A
lot of prospects. I mean, the person you just outlined sounds like a great person, someone who is hardworking. It sounds like you said they did their emotional work. They're emotionally mature and open to dating. And the like bonus, what you said was wants another person to feel special. Everyone wants to feel desired. They want to feel that their partner desires them on a daily basis. And helping your partner feel desired is not the big shebang fireworks or the expensive dates. It's the smallest little pieces. It's remembering little things or telling them how beautiful they are, how much you love them. It's the smallest little pieces that send the messages.
I think often the fireworks can be very performative, and they can be very generic as well. Like, how many other women did you take to this restaurant? You know? But when you remember something like a film director that she loves, or a particular type of flower, or a place that she likes to go, you know, and you remember that and you show that you remembered that, that's something that can't be bought, and it's also specific and individual to her.
Exactly. And those are the pieces that are maintainable. fireworks are not maintainable. Oftentimes my clients will come to me, they'll struggle in their relationship, they'll go on vacation, and they'll come back and say, we're great. I said, vacations don't count because that's not maintainable, right?
I've seen that before.
This needs to be on a daily basis, and it's the smallest little things.
Yeah.
Filling their water cup when it's empty.
Is this because women don't drink enough water? Every girlfriend I have, I've got a headache all the time. Yeah, you don't drink any water. You just drink iced coffee all day. And then when it comes to, I think people find the first date hard enough, but actually what is the trickiest part to navigate is really like month 1 to 3. When you've dated each other, you start to get to know each other well. And this is really when honesty and respect actually shows up. Of you start to make an assessment, right? Or you start to fall for that person, and you have to express what you want, or you think like, what direction is this headed in? In other words, how do you recommend guys navigate the "what are we" conversation?
Okay, so I love these conversations because communication is what you need, right? You're never gonna, when we don't have the communication, this is what happens with my couples. They think one thinks they're monogamous, the other thinks they're still dating other people, and then they start a relationship and they realize later, wait a minute, you did what? So when you're feeling that you want to take it from that dating phase to the monogamy phase, I wouldn't start it with, what are we, right? Take control of the situation, right? This is a very vulnerable conversation where you're taking both people's feelings where they can get really hurt. So one person can take control of that situation and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about the relationship. Is now a good time, right? Because one person may not be in the same headspace. So I would say kind of, if it's a big conversation, kind of try to plan the right time and ask your partner when that is. And go vulnerable first. I really like you. I want to take this to a place where we're no longer seeing anybody else. How do you feel? You take the vulnerability first. If you're bringing it up, show them that you are putting your guards down and putting your heart out there, and hopefully they will do the same, and it will be a very honest conversation.
It's without these conversations that the situationship has emerged, and it seems like maybe there's just a new term to describe it, and therefore it's easier to identify, but it does seem like in dating culture today, the situationship has become a lot more common than it was in previous generations. Do you find that?
The situationship is still around, but we're finding in Miami that people are saying we're done with these situationships. They're messy, they're emotional, they're dramatic. There's a lot of heartbreak. So here we are finding that people are saying no more. I'm not going to enter into that relationship. I'm going to be single or committed. And I think that was because of having that real conversation about, are we monogamous, are we not, was not being had. So things just got really messy and people got tired of that.
I know people have to operate on their own timelines and relationships move at different speeds. But when do you feel like, if that kind of conversation, that honesty hasn't come up yet, at what point should people start to like take responsibility for initiating that kind of clarity? I mean, because like second date is way too soon, It's like there's a middle ground somewhere.
There is and there isn't, because I have some clients who will tell me, I'm not having that conversation until a couple months in, right? I'm not going to give up the other people that I'm dating because we're still dating. Okay. If that's when you want to, if that's how you feel, I would be open. I would recommend being open with that person. Say, I'm still dating other people. Like, don't keep them in the dark or lead them on. But I absolutely have people on the other end who will say, this is our second date. I need to know what you're feeling. Are you still dating other people? And this is where, as a sexologist, it's not necessarily my job to tell them when these I know we all want guidelines, but everybody is very different in that. So it really is, when is it important to you? Is it important for you to have that conversation before you have sex? Then you should have it before you have sex, even if that is the second date. Is it important to you before they meet your family? You know, so where are the important things that maybe you don't want to do with them until having these conversations and having all that information?
I think it's also different culturally. In Europe, people almost assume that like dating is done one by one. You know, you don't date multiple people. I think in the US, that's very, very normal. And it's, you know, I've even had dating coaches on this podcast like advise it. Like, you don't want to just throw your eggs in one basket. You need to date other people at the same time. Sometimes it also happens where you might not date other people, but that's not necessarily because you don't want to. You just so happen to only be interested in this person at one time. You know, and then it's like, are you dating other people? Well, no, but I could be.
It's very like geographically different for us, because I have noticed in the Midwest culture, because I do have clients all over the United States, but in the Midwest, it is very much that they will couple sooner, meaning that by the second or third date, they are having these conversations because they're not dating multiple people. Miami, you're going to find that these conversations are later, and you're going to find that people are dating multiple people at the same time. I do think that is because of the dating apps. It was so easy for us to have so many conversations going on at the same time, and so many different people like right at our fingertips. I remember when I was dating, I went on a date with someone from a dating app, and he was like, yeah, well, I have 400 matches. You know, that like, I talked to him like 400, what? But to him, that was super normal. So maybe to him and his guy group, like that was a thing. So I do think there was a dating app influence, but yeah, geographically, you're going to have these, what are we conversations at different times.
Yeah.
But we should, because if it's important to you, bring it up sooner than later.
So you have a lot of like very honest conversations with men about how they're feeling about who they're dating, where that relationship is headed. A hypothesis that I have is that ultimately people always do what they want to do. And if a man truly wants to be with a woman, it doesn't matter if it's not the right time, or he's busy, or he has a lot going on with work or family, he'll make that work, right? Do you find that to be true from your own experience? Do you find that a lot of these reasons that you might give somebody for not wanting to move forward with the relationship are more to, you know, to soften the blow a little bit rather than the actual truth of the matter?
Sure, absolutely. But that's with like anything we do, right? Like if we actually want to make it to the gym, we'll go to the gym. If we don't really want to go to the gym, we'll find 100 excuses. And again, with somebody who is really busy, let's say with work or with family, they'll find little ways to still get in touch with that person, such as a text here or there, right? So you're absolutely right. If it's something that we want, we will just unconsciously find ways to get it done. If it's something that we don't want, we will make excuses or find ways to avoid that.
Yeah, and I think it does soften the blow, but also for the person on the other end, we always know the truth of the matter. Like, oh, sorry, I forgot to text you back. Like, after the date was already meant to happen. It's like, well, we all know everybody's on their phone all the time. You know, I also think that's an interesting like cat and mouse game when it comes to texting and phone calls. Back when people had a landline phone, or they had to go to a phone box to call somebody, you know, not hearing them from them for a few days was like fair enough. You know, maybe it might seem a bit keen to run over to the phone the moment you get home. But now everybody is on their phone all the time. To not reply does seem almost like a bit of a game. What do you think about that? Do you think that the etiquette around reply times and calling has changed?
Yeah, and the addictions to our phone, I think that's what makes ghosting hurt even more. You know, when somebody ghosts you, you know that they saw the message, right? Like, you know that they probably saw the missed call. So that's what hurts even worse. And I have a lot of these conversations where ghosting actually is more traumatic to somebody than not, because it's a huge rejection.
It can be, and it's a rejection without an explanation. I think that's what
Or
hurts
the
so
care.
much.
Right. If you have someone who's going to break up with you and say something nice and break up with you to your face, there's some respect there. This is almost, I didn't give you the respect or the care
Yeah.
to even give you the time.
And what I always say to somebody, and by no means a dating coach, but I always say either to myself or to a friend that this has happened to, you have avoided being in a relationship with somebody that cannot communicate. You've won.
Yeah.
If they ghosted you.
That's really good, like soothing advice, right? You got off. You didn't have to go down this road of even more heartbreak.
Yeah, exactly. Mindy, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I think this has been a really, really interesting conversation.
I had fun.
Yeah, likewise. Where can people go to find out a bit more about you, or maybe even if they want to work with you, where can they learn more about that?
Yes, just go to my Instagram at Dr. Mindy DeSeta, and from there you can learn all about me and get sex tips on how to live your best sex life.
If you're enjoying this podcast, you will love the Gentleman's Digest. This is our weekly newsletter sent straight to your inbox, packed with insights and recommendations. You'll find the link to become a reader in the description.